why I disagree with MYGOLFSPY's 5-year driver rule. Let's get into it, shall we? Of course, the one that actually goes in is the one that I dunch. I'm not setting that up again, that'll do. Guys, how you doing? Welcome back to a brand new video. Simon down here at Sanford Springs Golf Club, and we've got a few models of the Titleist driver over the last 8 years, starting from the 917 and going backwards. And I saw a very interesting post on the weekend from MYGOLFSPY, and it got me thinking. I used to agree with the rule of thumb, 5 years with drivers, you would see a difference from the brand new stuff coming out to the ones that were obviously released 5 years ago. But nowadays, I don't think I do. So I'm going to pull up the particular post that obviously I saw on MYGOLFSPY's Instagram, which they pulled from their Twitter page, and I want to go through some of the comments as well as what they said. Now, MYGOLFSPY does incredibly thorough tests. I'm not putting down their reviews by any means. However, I do believe this rule that we've always had in golf, i.e. 5 years, is a good time to update equipment. And the biggest thing from this whole post and comment was anything older than 5 years, you're almost guaranteed to see a benefit. And what I want to ask today is, what exactly is that benefit? Is it distance? Is it forgiveness? Is it straighter drives? Because personally, I don't think that's true. But as I said at the start of this video, I would have agreed with this rule back in 2016. I probably would have agreed even more if we went back to 2012. But in the year that is 2022 going into 2023, 2018, I would say is somewhat of the pinnacle of drivers that were released. We are talking Ping G400 and the G400 Max. We are talking Cobra F8 Plus. We're talking about the twist face from TaylorMade with the M3 and the M4. I could go on and on, not even forgetting the Callaway Rogue, which they binned off the Maverick series to bring back the Rogue series because it was so popular with amateur golfers. My point is, the variables as we go forward and the rules never changing, it almost seems like we're reinventing the wheel more than ever. I want to show you some of the older drivers that I have here to prove my point, and also I want to go through what benefits could be had from newer drives and what definitely aren't. In front of me I have 8 years worth of Titleist drivers, and as you see, going back and winding back the clock, we've got the 910 all the way to the 917. And through this period of 8 years, not only did driver technology get better, but the way we measured ball data got better. People, pros, amateurs, manufacturers were able to test over and over again more accurately through these 8 years than any other year up until today. We've got GC Quad, we've got TrackMan, we've got all the other launch monitors under the sun, so that as the years progress, they could get that optimal launch, spin, ball speed for longer, straighter drives. And I'd like to think now in 2022, even if you just started the game, ball speed hasn't increased, smash factor hasn't got better. If you swing a golf club at 100 miles an hour, you will pretty much max out at 150 miles an hour ball speed. If we were seeing these advances in ball speed to club head speed ratio year on year, we would be getting 190 miles an hour ball speed at this point. And again, to kind of emphasize my point, there's only one player I know over the last 3 years that's gained 40 yards of distance, 50 yards, sometimes 100 yards of distance, is Bryson, and that's because his club head speed has dramatically increased. And again, I am not saying that this thing isn't heavier than everything else that's coming out on the market this year, meaning that you, the average golfer, could probably swing the newer drivers with the 40-gram shafts, with the carbon face, carbon head, stealth comes to mind, faster than the older equipment. However, we are still amateur golfers, and for the couple of miles an hour, I'm going to go at a push, 4 miles an hour that you could swing a new club at, will that automatically mean that you can hit the ball further? The ball's coming off the face faster, you're swinging it faster, yet you're losing distance. And that's the thing that a lot of people forget. Launch and spin rule everything when it comes to distance. And again, just like myself, I've been to many a club fits. I've even given at tons of club fits, and on the day, on that 6 to 30 appointment that you have with your local pro or club fitter on that GC quad, indoors off a mat, you were getting great launch numbers, you were getting great spin numbers, and you were getting great smash factor results on that day at 6:30 in that particular room with that particular driver. However, is that driver then performing on a Sunday morning at 6:45 because that's your medal T slot with the new driver that you've got? And even though you ordered a 9-degree driver, it actually came at 8.2, and even though you ordered a stiff flex shaft, the tolerances aren't quite same as the stiff flex shaft that you had on that day, and because it's cold and you haven't eaten and potentially you're slightly hungover, that driver isn't performing how it did when you bought it. And I'm not saying the new stuff isn't better than 5-year-old equipment, 6-year-old equipment, 7-year-old equipment, but there's extremely fine margins. And the bit that I always ask in any club fit, and when I do second-hand club fits in the future, I will still ask, what are you looking for? Because if they ask for distance and they've got incredibly good launch and spin numbers with their current driver, I'm gonna tell them to go to the gym, or I'm gonna tell them to go and get a lesson, because there is no way that I want to risk your trusty 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old driver that you consistently hit 8 out of 10 fairways with to gain potentially 5 yards at a push, because you're the one that's tried and tested that driver over hundreds of rounds of golf. Both know that small percentage in yardage off the tee isn't going to help dramatically lower any of your scores. I am being somewhat pedantic, but I do want to go back to that post that MYGOLFSPY released, and it's anything older than 5 years, you are guaranteed to see a benefit. And my big question, what exactly is that benefit? Because if that benefit so happens to be straighter drivers, then potentially I would say if you want to hit the driver straighter and you want to see that benefit, go and get a lesson. Club face and swing path is the key to straighter drives. And if the benefit just so happens to be driver distance, you've got to ask yourself, is it really your club or is it yourself? Because when I've club fitted people in the past and they've got a spin rate with their driver of 4,500 RPM and a launch angle of 5 degrees, there's no driver that I could personally club fit, and I'm not saying that I'm the world's best club fitter, there's no club in the world, no matter how much I tweak the launch and get a different shaft and low spin and put the sub-zero head in, we're gonna drop 2,500 RPM to gain that distance. And again, it comes back to technique. And then the last potential benefit MYGOLFSPY could have been talking about was the forgiveness element. And you can see just through the head shape, we had very deep heads to again maximize almost that distance. And then as we progressed, they got wider and they got more shallow, and we've got a lot more weight all the way at the back of the driver to help with that moment of inertia at impact. MYGOLFSPY does very thorough testing. We're talking 30+ amateur golfers with the same ball in the exact same environment over and over again, testing similar drivers year on year to see what ones work better for the amateur golfer. And I can get behind that, because what works for pros on tour, i.e. the tailor-made M5, great for tour players, horrendous for amateur golfers. However, with their regiment testing of multiple different golfers with the same environments over and over again, I could be wrong and I'd love to be proved wrong. I can't ever see someone telling me that the Ping G400 Max is any less forgiving than any other driver that's come out over the last 5 years. And I saw this comment on that MYGOLFSPY post, which I think sums up this video quite well. Should I replace my 2016 M2 driver? One of the best looking, feeling, sounding drivers TaylorMade ever brought out. The Ping G425 I think is a phenomenal driver, but it just doesn't sound great. Therefore, I'm not putting it in the bag. And you could argue a 5-year-old, 6-year-old driver, the face deteriorates over time. Therefore, you're not going to get as much ball speed. And even though I haven't seen rigorous tests of that or seen the proof, and yes, again, I'd love to see it, hold my hands up and say I was wrong, no one ever smoked a drive down the middle 260+ yards and gone, ugh, I really wish I had a newer face so I could have got another 2 miles an hour ball speed out of that one. because we all know when we hit a decent drive for our swing down the fairway, and if you're doing that consistently and it's repeatable and you can do it under pressure with that particular head and shaft, the 2 mile an hour, 3 mile an hour potential gain from a newer face, potentially with the technology over the last 6 years, for me it just seems like a massive gamble. If you have this driver that's performed well over the last 6 years, got your handicap down, it's a fairway finder, to then try and gain 3 miles an hour ball speed and negate the club face, the swing path, the launch angle, your confidence with it under pressure, which a lot of people don't really put into effect when they get a new driver. They're going to get fitted for this driver that actually they leak out a bit to the right and they get a shaft and they get a head that brings it back into the middle. Lo and behold, you don't realize that you actually strengthen your grip in competition rounds. You grip it for dear life. You swing it actually faster because of the adrenaline. Lo and behold, you now hook this thing all over the place. I don't want to go on, but it's this notion of distance is everything, and having a club that you're confident with and is consistent around your golf course in your environment is a lot more valuable than any potential distant gains on that one drive out of 100 balls. So guys, thank you ever so much for watching. If you like this video, actually you might like this video here, best driver 2022 for £100, and I'll give you a clue of what it is. It's in my bag. See you later.